Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world? And welcome back to the Retro Review. I am the Bearded Geek. Joining me as always is Mikey the Freak.
What's up?
And Steve.
Hey!
You can find Steve on his own podcast on the last podcast you'd want. I keep wanting to say everyone. I swear I keep wanting to say everyone.
I don't know what to do with my hands. I just don't.
Just leave them there.
Just leave them there.
Yeah, the last podcast you'd want, it comes out
later.
Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays, whenever we get a chance to record days. Mostly Sundays, though.
That works, all right. We are going to be reviewing the movie Dumb and Dumber. Mikey the Freak, won't you tell us a little bit about this movie?
All right. So this stars Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels, who plays Harry and Lloyd. They're two good friends who happen to be really stupid. That's one way to do it. The duo set out on a cross-country trip from Providence to Aspen, Colorado, to return a briefcase full of money to the rightful owner, a beautiful woman named Mary Swanson, played by Lauren Holly. After a trip of one mishap after another, the duo eventually make it to Aspen, but the two soon realize that Mary and her briefcase are the least of their problems. So that's just kind of gets a brief synopsis of the movie, but it kind of starts off, I know everybody has seen this movie. Lloyd, played by Jim Carrey, absolutely a complete dumbass. Probably one of the most quotable movies of the 90s that I recall.
Pretty close.
Starts off, yeah, absolutely. It's one thing after another. They run into issues and they find that they don't know that there's money in the briefcase until they get to Aspen. And when they find out there's money in the briefcase, they end up spending it all. But they're all IOUs, and all the money's there. You can count it.
Wait, this one right here. This is a Ferrari. You may want to hold on to this one.
You may well hold on to this one. So they don't realize that the money's actually ransom money because her husband is actually being held at ransom in Aspen. So they end up going to drive cross country in the mutt, the mutt van, which is hilarious if anybody has seen it.
Wagon. The shaggin' wagon.
And the chicks dig it.
Chicks dig it. That's right.
Chicks dig it. And they run into scenario after scenario, and almost everything that they run into is absolutely hilarious in this movie. From Harlan Williams as a cop drinking the beer, which wouldn't happen, but ends up being
shut your mouth if you know what's good for you.
This is actually Harlan Williams' feature debut in a movie. This is his first movie, really? This is his theatrical debut.
He was in several Farley brother movies, if I could recall. The other infamous one is Something About Mary, which is
5-minute abs.
No, step in the office, you're fucking fired. Scenario after scenario. The funny scene in the he's going on a date and he ends up, Lloyd wants Lauren Holly, wants that character, and then ends up kind of not falling for, but Harry kind of wants to date her, and Lloyd tries to sabotage it.
Damn Terry Garr. If it weren't for Terry Garr, Lloyd probably would have gotten the date.
That's true. The infamous tuxedos and the owl dinner where it's $1,000 a plate.
Yeah.
500.
Yeah, 500.
Yeah, 500 a plate.
Put us down for 4.
Nice Hooters.
Yeah. Nice Hooters.
I mean the owls.
The owls.
Yeah. It's just one of those. Everybody in the 90s has seen this. A lot of people, I'm sure, that's watched our podcast. I'm not going to go into a lot of the movie. It's just one of those iconic movies from the '90s where you funny man Jim Carrey does his thing again, and then Jeff Daniels kind of steps in the comedic spotlight a little bit. I've always been known for him as a more of a serious type actor, but he really did this role very well.
All of his producers begged him, do not take the role. This is going to ruin your career.
And it didn't.
No.
Not even close. No. Made him a huge star. So yeah, I mean, there's not much to go in. Bearded Geek. So tell me a little bit of what you thought about the movie.
When this movie was first picked, I was like, oh God, I really don't want to watch it. And then I'm starting watching it, and I'm like, okay, this is actually a lot funnier than I freaking remember. And I quote this movie.
Stop laughing.
I quote this movie all the time, and Mikey knows because we'd go fishing all the time.
Oh yeah.
Anytime we get a hook set, look, kick his ass, Seabass, and bring it in.
Kick his ass,
Seabass. Bring it in as always. But I do have a quick story about this movie.
Oh geez, here we go.
Yeah. My aunt took me and Mikey to see this movie when it was in theater. Because we weren't.
And she does watch this podcast.
Yeah, and we was not old enough to drive yet, so she dropped us off, and she had a Bronco, one of those old school Broncos, and she's like, "Hey, Mike, can you roll the window up before you leave?" So Mike gets out, shuts the door, proceeds to reach in the window and start rolling up the window with the crank, and he's getting higher and higher until he.
And I'm like, "Oh, this ain't gonna work, is it?"
And my aunt's just shaking her head, yeah, and she says, "Yeah, y'all are going to see the right move." So,
yes,
that is
I did it on purpose. It was on purpose. I knew it was coming. No, I was an idiot.
But yeah, this movie has a lot of quotable scenes. The imagery of it, with when they're driving through Aspen and they have the frozen snot mustaches on them.
Yes.
Freaking hilarious.
They're frozen to each other.
Yeah.
That was good.
And the iconic toilet scene where he's just pooping his brains out. And I think a lot of people have that scene like in their bathroom. Just like in a frame in their bathroom.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was pretty enjoyable. Steve, how about you? What'd you think of this movie?
I love this movie. I saw this movie in its original theatrical run with my father. Yes, it is a very quotable film. I don't know how many times my brothers and I have been walking down the street to one of which will say, "Look at the ass on them."
Look
at that ass. And one of us would be like, "He must work out."
Yeah.
There's that. Big gulps, huh? All right.
All right.
See you later.
I got my one of my brothers will always, and he doesn't even have to see him. We'll just be driving somewhere and he'll just go, "Skis, huh?" Like, I'm just not even kidding. And I'll be like, "Yeah." He'll be like,
"Both of them?"
He'll be like, "They're yours?" "Yeah." "Both of them?" "Yeah." Cool. I love this movie and the way it relates. I got a fun story when it comes to this movie in its own right. I worked at a movie theater in the box office. I sold tickets, and I give this guy, he comes up asking for his movie. I go, "Oh, can I see your card?" I slide it, I hand it back, and I go, "Oh, I need to see your card again." And he slides it to me, and I go, "Ha ha, ha, cardigan." Like the cardigan. And I hand him his tickets, and he leans down and he goes, "Actually, it's a pullover. Thanks for noticing," and walks away. to which I lost it laughing, because like it's a quotable thing. And this in its own right was in like 2007. So this was easily, 10, 15 years after the movie had come out, maybe longer. So I don't know. I love this movie, man. Like it's funny. It's like one of those films that are forever funny. It's a relatable humor, no matter how old you are, whether you're a young kid, whether you're an old man, there's going to be something in there that you're going to be able to laugh at. I love this movie so much.
Awesome. Mikey the Freak, what is your rating on this movie?
Yeah. And the one thing I'd like to mention too is the I got so excited for the sequel, Dumb and Dumber 2, and I was so disappointed that it wasn't as funny. It had some funny spots in it, but it wasn't as funny as the first one. Nothing will ever live up to it. But
oh yeah, it was lightning in a bottle with this movie, and then they let the lightning out.
Are you saying you're not a fan of When Harry Met Lloyd?
No, I'm still not a fan of that one either.
I don't even think I've seen that one. So.
With Eric Christian Olsen. Sorry, keep going. Your rating.
Yes, that was the prequel.
The prequel, yeah.
Everybody forgets that one. He was better in the Not Another Teen Movie. So yeah. So I'm gonna rate this pretty high just because it was iconic in the mid '90s. I mean, we quote it to this day. It's been almost 30 years later.
Yeah.
And we still quote it I'd say almost every single week. I always come up with something. I'm laughing about it. But yeah, it's one of those movies that you can sit down. I actually had my youngest, he's 12, and I had him sit down and watch it. And literally the first scene where Lloyd slams on his brakes and jumps to the back and opens the
window,
rolls down the windows, and like, put another shrimp on the Barbie. Austria, huh? Yeah. So, and he starts acting Australia. He actually started laughing so hard. So, I think that this movie will live on for generations, and we got to make sure that we're showing our kids, even though how stupid we think it is. It's one of those slapstick Farley brother movies that has to stay in existence. We can't forget this movie. So I'm actually giving it an 8 because of the comedic value. I think it's going to live on. It's one of Jim Carrey's funnier movies than all of his funny movies that are out there. He just plays off of Jeff Daniels' character so well. I mean, that's all I've got to say. It was just a great movie all the way around.
Yeah.
So what about you, Bear Geek?
I'm probably going to give it an 8.5. Yeah, you're right. The chemistry that Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels had was just unreal. They played off each other great. I still quote this movie, especially when I'm fishing, and stuff like that. So I mean, this is one of those sleeper movies. Like when you think of Dumb and Dumber, you're like, okay, Dumb and Dumber. But when you actually sit down and watch it, I enjoyed myself more than I probably should have watching this movie. Because I forgot a lot of it. Like when even the comedic stuff where like he's daydreaming and she puts one strap down, the other strap down,
on the headlights,
and it's actual headlights on her boobs. And it's because a car is coming at him and he wakes up. Just simple things like that. So I'm going to give it an 8.5. Steve, how would you rate this?
I'm going to agree right there with Mikey. I'm going to give it an 8. I think it's a solid film that lasts. I'm not a big fan of the phrase, but, it lasts the test of time. It was kind of one of those that it was an instant classic. People, saw it and knew exactly what it was. Jim Carrey was just riding high off of Ace Ventura. Mm-hmm. So it was just riding right into that series of the same slapstick comedy. I really love it. I think it's just a really great film. And it's great for all ages. Like there's nothing really inappropriate for children that's going to get them into trouble. There's no real language in the film.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's
the one true. I think, and you got to look at the funny scenes. One of my favorite parts is always the benefit, the charity event where they come in and you see them. They have the blue and the orange tuxedos, and they're the people that are dressing them like, oh my god, what the hell? And everybody's like, yeah. And then the next scene they're sword fighting. Yeah. And he's like, all right. And he comes in and goes, wham!
All right.
He's like, all right.
All right, okay.
Time out.
I think that's just something that I can see us doing just to play off of it.
Yes.
It's one of those outburst type things. But yeah, probably one of my favorite scenes of this whole movie on that. So yeah, I agree.
All right, Steve, do you have any fun facts for this movie?
I got a great fun fact. The Farrelly brothers originally wanted for the role of Lloyd and Harry, the Coreys, Corey Feldman and Corey.
Oh no, that would have been
disastrous.
Yeah.
New Line Cinema CEO Robert Shea wouldn't allow it. He felt that they were no longer bankable actors.
He was right on that one. That shit ended in 87.
Another fun fact, after scamming Seabass with the bill, Lloyd tells the story of the movie in which the guy does the same exact thing and then gets his throat slit. That movie is called Something Wild. The guy that pulls the scam is Jeff Daniels.
Yes. I noticed that too. I'm like, yep, that was funny.
And
never realized that either. That was funny.
And another fun one is in an early draft of the film, Mary's husband was originally going to be Mel Gibson, who at the time was, of course, a leading Hollywood heartthrob. And, you know, in no way Lloyd Christmas could ever compare to Mel Gibson.
Yeah. Yeah, the reveal of the husband was like the biggest letdown of the movie. It was like the reveal of the husband.
And those are my fun facts.
Awesome. Well, I do have some movie memorabilia for this. I do have some. First, we have a Dumb and Dumber Wacky Wobbler bobblehead. You can pick yours up for $179 with $13 shipping. So they're shipping on
it. Do they think they use lube before you screw you that hard? My God.
Hey, shipping prices are high, but I will pass on that because it's shipping. I prefer free shipping.
No, you're waiting. You're waiting for the fight. You're waiting for the final item, if it is what I think it is.
Yeah. Then we have the Dumb and Dumber Lloyd Harry orange and blue tuxedo adult costume party for $149, but this is $71 shipping.
Wow, that's a lot.
That is a lot of shipping.
That's not what I'm waiting for, though, Bearded.
No, you are waiting for the Dumb and Dumber Jim Carrey Woolrich Navajo blanket Southwest coat Aztec medium large for $695. This is only $10 shipping, so it's not quite as bad.
You got me on the shipping for that one, Bob.
Yeah, that one's cheaper for shipping. That's good.
Yeah, so that is my movie memorabilia. Mikey the Freak, what do we have for some related reels?
Yeah, so I kind of just went with some of the main characters, of course. First one, of course, Jim Carrey. I mean, everybody's seen pretty much all of his movies. Just a few that I really enjoyed him in. The Truman Show, kind of a sleeper type movie. Not as funny as his other ones, but still a very good watch. The Mask. I laugh constantly of how hilarious he is in The Mask. Bruce Almighty, probably another one of his newer, funnier comedies. And then Man in the Moon,
I was hoping you were going to say that one.
Portrays Andy Kaufman. I love Man in the Moon. That's one of his more serious roles. Yes. And excellent portrayal of Andy Kaufman in that movie. Thought he did an amazing job.
Amazing portrayal of Kaufman.
Yeah, so I went with Jeff Daniels. Some of the ones I liked him in was Looper. He had a role in Looper, the one with
Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, sorry. I'll think of Bruce Willis. Yeah.
Bruce Willis.
Arachnophobia. He was in Arachnophobia. Speed, the movie Speed, which everyone loves the movie Speed.
Pop quiz.
And he does play some historic ones. He was in Gettysburg, which he played a colonel in the Civil War for Gettysburg. So I thought he did a good job in that one too. And then Mike Starr, which is one of your main, the bigger gentleman that was chasing around that had the ulcer. I forget his name on the movie. Sorry. He always plays those gangster type roles, hitman type. So yeah, very, very typecast in most of his movies. So I went with Snake Eyes, Nicolas Cage, very good movie there. He was at a small role in Free Jack. I love
Mick
Free
Jagger.
Jack.
Mick Jagger in his prime acting.
I love Free Jack. Such a good movie. He was in Goodfellas. And he was also in Funny Farm, which is, of course, he was in Goodfellas, right? But yeah, that's all I've got.
How'd you know my name was Sam? Lucky guess. Then why don't you guess how to get there?
Yep.
That's Mike Starr. Mike Starr.
Yes,
I literally just quoted Mike Starr in Funny Farm. I'm sorry. Honorable mention for Mike Starr in his role in The Office. He's the guy selling. Yeah, he was in one episode where he's selling insurance, and they think he's with the mafia.
You're right. He was. Totally forgot about it.
Yes, I know. And a shout out to him in Jersey Girl as well, where him and Stephen Root play two alcoholics at a bar.
All right, Steve, why don't you tell us where people can find you on your podcast?
Oh man, sorry, I can go movies for days.
I know, that's why I'm cutting you off. That's why I'm cutting you off.
I got movies for days, folks. You can find me at The Last Podcast You'd Want. It's me and my buddy Travis. I've been very fortunate enough to have these two gentlemen. I mean, I don't know if I'd say fortunate, but I've had these two gentlemen on my show as well. We drop every, like I said, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whenever we want to record. You can find us on every major podcast outlet, as well as YouTube, The Last Podcast You'd Want. Tip the veal, try the staff. Thanks for coming.
All right, guys, as we come to a close, do all the YouTuber things. Give us a good old thumbing, hit that like, subscribe, hit that bell, all that stuff. Leave a comment, tell us what you'd like us to review, or tell us what you thought of the movie we just reviewed. So for Mikey the Freak and Steve, I am the Bearded Geek saying keep it retro, everybody.